show and wish to join us in the chat room, visit paltalk.com. Go to the social issues, select Other, and enter the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
Tune in to the Mind Cemetery with your hosts Chip and Nicole every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We delve into UFOs, abductions, ghosts, aliens, conspiracies, and cryptozoology.
And how could you ever forget about those creepy topics you won't hear on your local news?
This is where I would insert my obligatory skeptic statement. The Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest.
Follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on Facebook. Also check us out on our website, mindcemetery.com, for show updates and the critically acclaimed Mind Cemetery blog.
It's not critically acclaimed, but you should check it out anyway, mindcemetery.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Benetti, and along with Joe Montaldo, we host News on the Flip Side. Come join us every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central for our 3-hour program. We have opinions on everything, and we're not afraid to share them. False history gets made all day, every day. The truth of the new is never on the news, but you can find it here with News on the Flip Side. Remember, don't be politically correct. Just be correct. Join us.
Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Well, here's everyone. Stephanie Benetti, as you can hear, is with me, and she's losing her mind. Also, Patrice Sheridan is with me from a global newsmaker focus. She's joining us. We're going to be chit-chatting about a couple of things. But don't worry, Steph just lost her mind. It's okay. She'll
that was very funny. And only you and I know exactly what that
was. Anyway, we started out the show. It was good giggle. I hope everybody had a great and safe New Year's. You know, a friend of mine, actually my kid, they said, what do you mean, Dad, a great and safe New Year's? I'm like, well, you know, you can have really, really good New Year's and still be safe, right? You know, I remember when I was younger that they weren't always safe, but still they were good. But I hope everybody had a nice, safe, great, and a lot of fun New Year's. You know, down here, it was a couple places I noticed around the country, it was kind of low-key this year. I didn't see as many people out like down here. They usually have bonfires all lit up and down the beaches for miles and miles. I think I've seen 3. Wasn't much in big firework displays. Now, here New Orleans kicked off pretty good, but wasn't all that great. You know, I seen New York kick off. They looked pretty good, but I didn't hear any record-breaking crowds down in the garden. So, you know, it looks like a lot of people stayed home, which was kind of surprising to me because all I ever keep hearing from the news is, well, the economy's great and y'all can spend and it's great and we're breaking. But yet, you know, what? Christmas didn't break any records. You noticed that they just kind of skipped over even talking about Christmas sales this year? They just kind of blipped over it. Oh, we don't want to talk about that. It wasn't, you know, forecasted as good as we thought. Yeah, well, I got to give the liberals credit on this. Usually, even when it's bad, they just come out and say it's good. I got to cut them a break on this. But by saying that, you know, because a liberal friend of mine started listening to this show about 3 weeks ago, listening to News on the Flip Side, I should clarify. And she goes, you know, Joe, you're kind of hard on liberals. And I'm like, because they're morons. I said, come on. At first they want to have socialized medicine, socialized government. I said, basically they want us to be communists. And I said, it gets old. I said, we should have learned a long time ago that you can't force the people into stuff. Eventually they get pissed off. And one way or another, whether it's a dictatorship where they overtake you or something like our country where they vote you out, you're going to get thrown out. I don't understand, after all these years, I mean, mankind, even if we want to take a conservative estimate and say we've only had 5,000 or 6,000 years of civilization, that should be enough to learn that you can't force people into doing shit they don't want to do. But still, here we are, 6,000 years later, and we're still trying to do it. And no, that's not a biblical reference for whoever just sent me that text message, no. Boy, people just on the God thing, man. I'm telling you, just because it was Christmas don't mean to be freaking out, people. God will love you even if you're a moron. There you go. What do you think? What do y'all think? Think God would love y'all if you were a moron?
Yes, I think.
I think he'd love you even more. I gotta be honest.
I have to say,
He loves all his creatures.
New Year's, Joe, I had sent you a picture, but I took the longest walk in the freezing cold down by the beach. I must have walked about 5 miles just back and forth. It's like 2.5 each way. And it was absolutely beautiful. It was so peaceful. There was fireworks going on in Brooklyn across the river, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. And there was not a soul around. It was like I owned the place, and I was able to free and whatever. And
but see, that's what I'm talking about. Places I would normally see were crowded this year were lacking people. It's really weird. And I was talking to some people on the phone about this yesterday. I mean, on the internet, and it seemed like some people, my friends up in Denver, said a lot of the places they would go to watch fireworks and stuff, there was just nobody there.
There was nobody there. I watched them, but I was watching them from Brooklyn, like towards
Sure,
Brooklyn.
Callie, go ahead, man. I'm sorry, Steph.
Oh, that's all right.
Good. No, that was rude. I didn't mean to interrupt you like that.
No, it was really nice. Really nice.
There's a lot of people told me they spent nice, peaceful evenings. I mean, normally we would ride through and go to New Orleans, but this year we elected to stay up here. We hit a couple of casinos. I know anybody who's following my Facebook page knows I was in quite a few casinos. I didn't spend a lot of money, though, by the way, which was kind of nice. But even the casinos, there was places to park. There were vacant machines, which is the first time I've ever seen vacant machines on New Year's. Or New Year's Eve, whenever. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, I got to say this. We were at the Isle of View for midnight, and for a change, they actually put out good champagne. It had a nice flavor to it. And, Jesus, like 2 sips and you were half crocked. I think they laced the shit just so people would gamble more. I got to be honest, man. I drink a lot of alcohol. For me to get a little buzz off a little champagne is kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? But it was a nice night. It was peaceful, though. And you don't expect to hear people describe New Year's Eve as peaceful.
Right, and mine was as well.
Mine was not. They were shooting off not from the manor itself, but from the neighborhood across the street. Many guns. Later, some people said that they were shotguns as well as fireworks.
Shotguns aren't as bad. I mean, when you shoot them up in the air, it's BBs that fall, and they're usually not coming down at high velocity. But pistols and rifles, really. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you shoot and shoot. You should not shoot any gun into the air ever, because unless you're like out in the middle of the woods, and even then you shouldn't, because you never know where the bullet's going to come down at. Everybody forgets that the bullet has to come down. So if you fire, we'll say a 30. No, we won't even do that. We'll say a 9mm round. It's traveling at about 3,500 miles an hour, 4,000. So it's going to cruise up, a mile and a half up, and then it's going to turn and it's going to fall straight back down to earth at 32 feet per second. If it hits you in the head, it's going to kill you. I just, maybe not the BBs, but the bullets will, and I don't understand it. And in New Orleans, in years past, we have had problems with idiots in the French Quarter shooting guns into the air. And in big, crowded, 2 million people, 1 million people deep French Quarter shooting bullets in the air. You just got to wonder what the mentality is to that. I understand we'll go out and have fun and make noise, but look, shoot the damn thing in the ground. At least you know where it's going. Make sure there ain't no concrete or anything around when you do it. But, don't be a cheapskate. Go buy some fireworks. Hell, if you want really big bangs, there's places that sell quarter sticks on the coast. This is so funny. You'll be traveling through, like, Alabama and stuff, and they got fireworks stands. It's fireworks are legal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in Alabama for some reason. You go to one of these stands, it'd be like 10 million this for free and that, and you'll come out right with like $100 worth of fireworks. There'll be some old guy standing out there, or some young guy sometimes. Old beard looks like he come out of the dam, waiting for him to pull his banjo out, as Stephanie would say. Hey, man, you want to buy some quarter sticks? $1 quarter stick. You want to buy some quarter sticks, man? Hey, you think we was selling drugs here, man? And by the way, selling quarter sticks of dynamite will actually get you more trouble than selling drugs. But then we out there selling. So look, you could even get them and blow them up. Or, if you're legal, we could have one of our good friends who is a chemist whip you some up. But, hey, look, just don't shoot guns in the air. You might kill someone you love by accident. Steph, would you shoot a gun up in there if you have? Well, I don't think we should ever let Stephanie have a gun. Never mind.
I'd kill someone.
Yeah, Steph's not allowed to have a gun. She's not controlled by temper well enough to own a gun. Like a couple of weeks ago, she'd have went down to the city hall, and we'd have been reading about it in the newspaper. She'd have been news, and for news on the flip side, goes crazy, walks in courtroom.
I mean,
pow. So we can't be doing that. We really can't.
I am dangerous.
So, why I got y'all two ladies here before we get into this too deep, and if anybody listening tonight, this is United Public Radio's Year in Review, sort of, kind of, and because Stephanie and I will be doing some stuff tomorrow, but the thing about it is, what do you think was the single most important piece of news this year that came out? I mean, there's a lot of news, and we covered a lot of news this year.
I know, I'm thinking, what is the single most important?
Wait, let me rephrase that. What was probably the most significant event to happen this year to change well, no, you know what? Answer the first question.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm on the air right now.
Live for millions of people?
I know, I'm sorry. But my phone will not stop ringing if I don't do that. No one's expecting me to be on the air, Joe.
Should have made a message. Hi. I'm on the air. Call me.
That was Leela.
Oh, hi,
anyway.
Leela.
Well,
hi, Leela.
Maybe she'll be joining us. Go ahead.
Excellent.
Well, what do y'all think it is? I mean, was it Putin going on a rampage? The Ukraine?
I think more of the race stuff this year. I mean,
you think?
Yeah, I think that there was like we had the Brown, the whole Ferguson thing. We had the silent little episode. We had so many racial things. I think race has really become something like really hot button,
Well, race is a hot button issue, but we still got, the goofball for 2 more years. What do you think, Therese? Anything good? Because there's a lot of news this year.
It is a very important issue. We have to make sure that the discord between the races doesn't escalate. Careful reflection by all Americans really is in order here. I think one of the most important stories was ISIS.
That's a good one, too.
Of their just tremendous barbarism. The fact that the actual goal of a global Islamic caliphate is, unfortunately, a goal of many Muslims. It's a very upsetting development. One, I think, now that is being reported much more openly by mainstream media. That's a blessing. And a side development would be Fukushima. That's ongoing from that horrible incident. It's been going on now for several years, but I think that we're going to be hearing more information about it.
I agree with that. Before I tell you what I think it is, we're going to kind of go over these. The Fukushima thing it just doesn't seem to go away, and anytime it's an update, you never hear anything good about it at all. It just wasn't. And going back to the ISIS thing, I just heard today that any negotiation to end hostilities over there, they want Assad to step down. Do y'all think Assad's going to step down?
Only through death.
Good point.
I think I might have to agree with Tree on this. Treese I don't think that he's willing to give it up. And as long as he's got Russia backing him, I don't think he will. Now, if Putin kicks the legs out from underneath him, that might change. It might. How does Russia deal with race issues, by the way? Anybody know? Is there racism in Russia? Oh, hell yes, there is. I hear it's worse there than it is here.
Well, they are proud, though, of their the accomplishments of some of their Russians of black ancestry. And let me just I'm just going to give a little detail here because I studied this years and years ago. Alexander Pushkin, Pushkin, and he was a Russian author here. I'm just checking from the web here of the Romantic era. Of the Romantic era. And indeed, sorry. I have read some of his poetry and his short works in the Russian for class. The Russians really admired this gentleman. They considered him to be brilliant, again, Alexander Pushkin. And I'm just going to confirm, I was under the impression, indeed, that he was of black ancestry. I'm wondering now if it's partial. Saying here, now this is from Wikipedia, and I'm quoting directly. Pushkin was born into Russian nobility in Moscow. His matrilineal great-grandfather, Abram Ganabal, was brought over as a slave from what is now Eritrea and had risen to become an aristocrat. End quote. So I guess he was of mixed background, but the Russians were very, very proud of him. And, I've got to say, in my own personal life, people that are making a tremendous impact are often of American black lineage. Of course, some of them would have had grandma. Well, everyone knows, the history here, and some brilliant attorneys, a brilliant paralegal, two brilliant attorneys I know personally, and I think that Americans are going to step back and say, let's not have a discord. People from all the various races here who are Americans have achieved so much. Let's just unite and be so proud of all our respective accomplishments, which joined together is a really very impressive whole.
Well, I don't think. I mean, I know Al Sharpton and them like to make race out and hold it and like to use it as a race baiter thing in the United States, which I do understand. But I know a lot of people. I know a lot of black people, and most of them I know are doing pretty well. It's not that I don't think there's not some doing bad or there's not room for improvement. I really do. But, I grew up in the South. When I was a young man in the South, being black could get you killed. I mean, it's that simple. Today, they have equal power in the South, which they don't have in other parts of the country. So it's a weird kind of twist around kind of thing. So I don't think it's near as bad as everybody wants to make it out. And the media, of course, this is big media. Race baiting is big media, But even that I've noticed, even like the Ferguson thing, especially after they shot the guy shot the two cops in New York, is just kind of going the way of Dodo because they really don't have anything to stand on now. Obviously, in both cases, somebody was breaking the law. And more the racing, and it's more the media, because if you go back all the way to Trayvon, first picture they put on Trayvon TV, what was he, 9 years old or something?
Right, they did the same thing with Michael Brown.
Yeah, and Michael Brown too. I mean, it's just, when I was watching media up until I was about age 30, 25, there was accountability for this kind of bullshit. I guess because they're cable news, they're not held accountable. What kind of crap is that? But then, that works that much better because NBC owns NBC, with Rachel Maddow, and she's up there all the time spreading bullshit that's, you got Rush Limbaugh for the Republicans going crazy, and you got Bill Maher and Rachel Maddow on the other side, which is kind of funny. They still can't compete with Rush. And on all three sides here, most of what's being spread is just a load of manure. But if you could get in between the three of these people, you might actually get the truth of some sort. Because really, they over-exaggerate everything. It's just ridiculous. I can't tell you how many times I've been thrown off of MSNBC's page. I've been thrown off of Fox's a few times, too. I've been thrown off quite a few sites. They always let me back on because I usually threaten to call one of the other news agency and tell them what they do. I said, oh, wait, don't worry. When I get on my show Saturday, I'll be bitching about y'all all day. And I said, I'll be calling every news agency going, look, I was speaking the truth, and they kicked me off their page. And you know how news medias like to crack on each other, so they always let me back on. But because, look, I was on Neil deGrasse Tyson's page the other day talking about why you got to shit on Christmas on Christmas. You got a show you could have done on any show you wanted to. You could have went into the exploits of why Christmas is the way it is, but you chose to do it on Christmas Day, which was just crappy and showed that you were a shitty person. I actually used to like this guy. I've interviewed him a couple of times. But after that, and I'm not even religious, and it pissed me off. I was like, dude, come on, it's Christmas Day. People enjoying their Christmas Day. You're going to go take to Twitter and start downing on Christmas. Oh, man. You know, sometimes you need to be held responsible for your stupidity, and that was one of them ones. And it'll cost him. He'll lose a lot of viewers over it. A lot of people will stop watching him on TV because of that stupid statement. And, you know, when you're in the media and you're in the press and you're famous, sometimes you got to watch what you say. Unless it's on this show, and then you can just kiss our asses.
Wait, what show is that?
Well, if on News on the Flip Side, I'm sorry. We're not on News on the Flip Side. No.
I don't know what we're doing.
Well, you know what? I think I just thought I had a very positive thought here as well. News on the radio, News on the Flip Side has often mentioned Pope Francis. Oh, heavens. We immediately get off that. I'm right up with, it's an ad from, from the Examiner. I'll just get
I hate them damn ads. I wish, you know, whoever's in charge of these web pages.
Oh, thank heavens. It's
stop.
annoying.
Yeah, I know. They need to stop putting ads on that just pop up.
Well, you know, you people have to be commended. You really covered Pope Francis's activities very, very well.
I think he's a good guy.
He is a pioneer, yes.
I think he's a good guy. I don't know how much longer the Vatican let, you know, usually a pope stays till he dies. I don't know if they can let this guy do it or not, because he keeps wanting to change everything, which is making, of course, all the cardinals really, 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 really nervous. And but I think he sees that the church needs to kind of change a little bit so it doesn't lose as many people. There's room for this and room for that. I mean, come on, even the Bible allows for room for expansion, so the church needs to take – and, you know, he's had now – let's see, there was Monsignor Balducci, there was a senior astronomer, there was a guy who does radio for the Vatican, and there was somebody else. There's been 4 pretty high-ups come out talking about extraterrestrials and stuff. So you can see they're wanting to reform some. They're even talking about allowing priests to get married. They're hoping that'll get rid of the let's molest the little boy thing, which just seems to plague the Catholic Church. It kind of makes me wonder, though. So, no, we ain't going to go into that topic. Never mind. Leave that alone, Joe. Just leave that alone.
Do you think
which topic?
We ain't going there. Leave it alone. Ask me Saturday.
Do you think that the church does have some, well, no, because this would be conjecture, but per conjecture, would you think that there might be an off chance that the church does know quite a bit about UFOs or something to the subject?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after speaking with Monsignor, actually after the hearing, he was speaking on several occasions, and then listening to the astronomer speak, they definitely think the Vatican's withholding. And not just that, they think that at least one of the alien type are angelic light, which at first I didn't quite understand what they meant, but they meant an extraterrestrial, an advanced extraterrestrial with a spiritual nature, a spiritual side, which could be at least 2 that I can think of, and I'm sure there's more out there, but it seems, because the reptilians are, you know, have a religion and seem to be pretty spiritual. So I'm kind of wondering if the Catholics didn't already know this. I'm sure they know a lot more than they want to talk about, because a lot of the interactions that you hear back in the old days, especially from like the Sumerians and the Egyptians and other races, seem to point that there was some knowledge, a much more open knowledge than there is today about them. So I'm sure the Catholics knew it. I'm sure when weird shit happened, especially when there was witnesses around, back then the Vatican used to send out people to investigate, because we know that's how the Inquisitions eventually started. Weird stuff happens when you're extraterrestrials around. Sometimes things float and levitate. People get psychic sometimes and can predict shit. Other shit happens. They have other abilities. They can read people's mind. All stuff that would have definitely been considered witchcraft back in the day. So.
Right, but you don't really believe most people have psychic abilities. Is that
I don't think that if when it comes right down to humans, I think that any human could probably, given the right genetics and the right breeding, maybe develop psychic abilities. I think only really anybody with advanced abilities has probably been abducted or a contactee. I don't think there's anything else, because there's too much of the black ops and too much of the men in black being chasing down contactees that are highly telepathic. They're highly sought after. We also know that the government runs 2 telepathic programs. Both the Air Force and the Navy have legitimate programs for telekinesis, for telepathy. They closed their remote viewing instead and went for telepathy, which of course is you're going to get way more information out of. Remote viewing told you areas. Telepathy, you can look through the guy's eyes and see what's on his desk and read it for yourself. It's a much different thing. So I can see.
Do you yourself? Do you think you have psychic abilities?
I'm very empathic. I'm very, very empathic. Always have been. It's a very weird thing. Most of my family is latent telepaths of some kind or another. It didn't matter. There could be 20 people in the house on a holiday. Somebody knocked at the door. Everybody in the freaking house knew who it was. It didn't matter. Phone rang. Everybody knew who was on the phone. It's just one of them things that they're just very in tune, especially with the people around them, the people they're associated with, and stuff like that. Empathic's a little bit different, but empaths have a different view on life because you can share people's emotions and stuff. You can share a lot of things actually, but that's it's a much more personal. Telepathy is very personal too because you're actually in someone's head, but you're not. You can see the event. You're not so much experiencing it. As an empath, you experience the event through the person's emotional state of mind. So it's a little different, but you can be both. I mean, you can actually be both, and some of the more advanced ones are. A lot of the keepers are both telepathic and telekinesis, though, seems to really evade our society. You know this for several reasons. One, there's nobody out there really bending spoons or making things fly across the room, and there may be 4 or 5 people out there possess it, but none that the government's ever found. Because the thing about it is, think about this: if Obama had a really good person who did telekinesis, because there's no really range distance to it, as long as it's, as far as I know, there's no real range distance to it at all. Let's say Putin's giving a lecture to his 5 allied nations over there in the Soviet Alliance, whatever they call it. I mean, the Russian Alliance. Sorry, the Russian Confederation. Sorry, old Cold War habits there. And we had someone that possessed telekinesis. All they would have to do is think to close one artery in his brain. Just squeeze it closed with a thought. He would go in. He would have a stroke right there and die or be completely crippled for life. And then they could release it. They wouldn't even know what the cause of death was. Or if they held it long enough, they would know it was a stroke from the bleeding around the area. But still, that's all it would be. It would be a stroke. There would be no lethal weapons or nothing else, and the world wouldn't question that he had a stroke on stage. Now, of course, if a lot of leaders all over the world started suddenly having strokes, we might question that. But, you could also do the same thing, squeeze the heart to stop it. There's a lot of things you could do like that and take out leaders without any repercussion or any worry. So we definitely don't possess that technology. Besides that, telekinesis, if someone could develop it, they could really move anything. They could move mountains, rocks, steel by thought. You wouldn't need machinery anymore. So I think that's one of them things we're going to have to develop way down the line because we ain't quite ready for it yet. Could you see a schoolyard fight with 2 telepaths, with 2 people that possess telekinesis?
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you really believe is psychic? Like, give me a psychic that you know that you believe in them.
I was right there.
And that's public?
Somebody that, whatever, yeah.
No, nobody down there that's public. I don't think anybody that's public's real. I mean, not any that I've met anyway.
I agree with you.
Anytime I hear someone say, well, someone with a J or a K, let me tell you what. If I'm going to come to you as a ghost and I'm going to speak to you, I'm going to say, hey, my name is Joe Montaldo. Could you go please tell blank, 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 such and such and such and such?
Absolutely.
It's not going to be no little bits and pieces. And it always confuses me that he can get a letter, but when he gets the letter, he can get a whole message, but he still can't get the name. What kind of bullshit is that? And it's not that some people aren't decent clairvoyants, some people can actually tell the future. They're gifted like that. They just can't tell it all the time. Or sometimes they can see events that are already happened, or for them it's already happened, but they have not have happened to the individual.
But you're right. You're right with that whole give me somebody with a J or someone with an M or whatever. And here's something else. And now I have been involved in the paranormal world for X amount of years now, and I'm also a skeptic, but I do believe in the paranormal. But that being said, there are ways and things that these people, what they say is, they'll say oh yeah, you're going through a tough time and things are going to change and this or that. They give you a scenario that everyone could play in their head. Someone is lying to you. Well, if I said to you, Joe, someone is lying to you, trust me, I know this. And you could think in your head, yeah, this person I work with, this one, that one, it applies, right? So if you give such a broad statement like that, everyone can mold. That's what a lot of the psychics do. They just give you some generic statement that you can apply easily. Now, if you, Joe, someone's lying to you, could you think of someone who is?
Oh, yeah, because people lie every day. They can't help it.
Exactly. That's what I mean, So they say, all right, a woman is lying to you. Yeah, she's in her mid-whatever. And then you start going through your head. How many people do you know? Oh, yeah. You know what? Is it her? Oh, yeah, she did lie. And you could actually make it into something it's not. I've never been a fan of psychics, and I don't like to go to any. I don't want anyone to influence my decisions. I don't want to know the future. I want to make calculated decisions based on the information that I know is real in life, as opposed to oh yeah, you're going to meet a guy and he's going to be whatever in 6 months. Don't tell me anything. Don't want to know it. I want life to actually just unfold the way it's supposed to. And so I'm not a fan of this kind of stuff. Why do you want to know the future? And I also think about destiny and fate and all of that kind of stuff. And you put that into play. Stop that. You think about those kind of things. Stop, Joe. Think about fate and the way things are supposed to play out, and then if you think about making a decision based on something someone said to you and they influence your decisions, and then you make choices and do things that you wouldn't have done if you didn't hear those things. So I am psychic stuff? No. I went to a psychic, I think, once, about 20 years ago, and...
But you lived with a psychic.
I know, but I never asked any opinions or whatever, so what?
I'm going to have to tell them to do a reading on you.
I don't believe that you can get a reading on someone that you're dating or what have you.
Well, depends how much you love the person, but yeah, you can get a reading.
No, do you want to know something? I never ever did I even consider that. It's funny you mention that because you would say, oh, well, how could I make these statements? But this was my stance prior to that and kind of remained all along. And the fact that this person gave readings and whatever, but that was for other people. That wasn't for me. It still didn't apply to me. And
but that's not what I meant. I mean, you watched the readings and all. You knew what the accuracy rates were and all.
Well, here's the thing. It's very personal thing. I didn't get involved, right? So the person gave somebody else a reading. And if you ask him, he'd say, oh, that was the reading of their life. But I didn't ask them, right?
Well,
it's right, but it's perception, reality. So I don't know about that. And you know what? If that was the case, those people would keep coming back, right?
Well, yeah, if you're good, they always come back.
But they didn't. So.
Unless you're too good, then you scare them. So there's always that. But, that's a rarity. That's not really a all-around kind of thing. I just never met anybody that I felt could really read me or understand, or really was that accurate. And it's not that I don't know there's some out there. I really do know there's some gifted people out there. I have truly met some gifted people over the years. But still, I've got to say, and for the most part, most of the ones I meet are just, frauds. For whatever reason, they're in it for money, fame, worship. I don't know.
I think it's attention. I think that they are in it for money, but it's not always money. It's like they want to be adored or revered, what have you. And I'm with you, Joe. I don't think very many people are psychic. I think that it's a bunch of BS. And, I'm not saying that paranormal stuff doesn't exist, because I do believe it does. And I just don't think, if you look on Facebook, I'm attached to so many people that claim that they're psychics. And they're promoting their websites, and they're saying, want readings. And so how many out of these are real? Right? If I had 100.
What, 100 sightings?
Just the psychics, 100. What would you say the percentage is? 2?
5
out of 100? Yeah, see, that's how I feel. I'm I think it's very, very small. And
it might be 1 out of 100, because we look at it the grand scheme of things. That would be 10 out of 1,000. That would be 100 out of 10,000. It would be 1,000 out of 100,000. It would be 10,000 out of 1,000,000. So it actually brings the numbers up even at once. I don't even know if it's that many, Steph. It might be 1 per every 1,000.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
6 billion people on the planet. But then working in the field I have for a while, I guess that's maybe why some of the reasons I meet more of them, because they seem to be drawn to the field. But still.
Well, look, one of my best friends, right, Michelle, she's psychic, and
she's psychic. Oh.
No, she's not. She's very good, Joe.
Big O.
And
big.
Wait. She's very good.
Big psychic.
Whatever. She doesn't like you either. But
I'm just saying, she's just like.
I know. Whatever. She's really good, though. She has customers for years and years, definitely returning. She puts whatever out there, and even though I'm sitting here saying I really don't buy a lot of it, there are some things I have to, she makes predictions, and each and every one of them come true. And I'm very impressed with her, and that's one of the reasons we're really good friends, but she's good at what she does. So even though I'm saying most people aren't psychic, and I don't know if she's intuitive and she's empathic, it could be a combination, but she's good at what she does, so I give her props for that.
Some people are good at it. Some people are just good at BS in it than other people, but, still. I've met a lot of psychics that aren't any good psychic-wise, but they're really good BSers. I got to give them credit for that.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
They made the people think that they were getting the truth. But anyway, every now and then you'll hear about somebody down at the French Quarter. They like to read over at St. Louis Cathedral and Jackson Square. There's a wraparound where they used to sell the slaves back in the day, and they like to set up there. You can go out there midnight. A lot of people like to go early in the morning because it's spookier, So they'll go walking down there at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, get their cards read. Some of them guys are gifted. Some of them are just complete and utter frauds. Get your tea leaves read. Get a pedicure while you're getting your reading.
So let me ask you a question. I have a lot of friends that believe everything is spirits, and then I have another whole half of friends that believe everything is aliens. And I'm somewhere in the middle of, I believe in both, and I know you happen to be everything's aliens.
No,
you don't think?
Not everything is alien.
You don't think everything...
It's not true. I think what's alien is alien and what's not isn't. You got to remember, I was raised in New Orleans. I've seen weirder shit than aliens down there. So to me, not everything is alien. It's just a lot of times, a lot of paranormal stuff is extraterrestrial. It's just paranormal researchers and their desperation to get famous or whatever want to lump it off as paranormal. But, somebody said one time, well, about poltergeists. Well, anti-gravity activity at UFO sightings are common. I mean, very common. not just that, sometimes when the grays are present, there'll be anti-gravity events because some of the equipment they use affects gravity around you. It'll make things weightless. It's one of the ways they can take a human without having to throw them over their shoulder and carry them out. That's why when they touch you, you become light. They can move you with a finger because it's some type of anti-gravity field around you, and that will affect everything around. So a lot of this stuff gets written off as paranormal, and it has nothing to do with the paranormal at all. And you can bet your ass until recent times, the grays, the reptilians, and the humans were getting written off as paranormal, this, that, or the other thing. Until the last 50 years. So a lot of that stuff you've heard for the last 3,000 or 4,000 years probably pertains to one of those three races, you know. It's just now we have a better idea what they look like.
All right, so do you remember several years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 4, I sent you a photo, and it was a guy in a doorway that I took a photo at, like a paranormal investigation, and there was this thing that looked kind of like a golden retriever, like almost like a ghost dog or what have you. And I sent it to you, and I said, look at this shit. What do you think of this? And I really didn't know what it was. It looked like demon-like, or it was some ghost-looking thing. Do you remember that picture?
Yeah, Trace, did you ever see it? It looked like actually it looked like a little brown is what it looks like.
Right. And so, no, but here, the reason I'm mentioning this, so I sent it to you thinking it was a ghost. And as soon as I sent it to you, you were like, are you kidding me? You're like, you said something to me like it was a gray. And then I was like...
Well, it was actually a brown, but it could have been a brown.
Right, but I said to you, what makes you say this? And I'm like, it's not gray. And you were like, do you think gray means gray? And maybe I'm literal, but at that moment, I started to think, like, what the F is that? And it was so real. Like, this wasn't like Matrixing or something like, oh, look at this. If you look at it, that was full on, right?
It had the typical shape of head of a gray. It had the dark almond patch things over its eyes. It had no practical nose at all, but the holes were there. You could almost even make out the mouth. I mean, it was actually a pretty good photo. But it wasn't a demon. If it was, she was a piss poor.
No, I know, but you know what? No, the reason I'm bringing that photo up is, first of all, if I didn't take it myself and had been there, it would be like, all right, somebody did this or Photoshop, whatever. You know that I'm not going to put anything out there that is not like I'm not trying to prove anything. Like there it was. That's the photo. It's unbelievable. But it's not like, oh, it's an orb. What do you think about an orb? You know, like that kind of BS. This thing was full-fledged. You saw it. You knew it. Like, it's... So, why do you think it let me capture it? Like, people don't get the cut.
Better question than that is, why do you think it let you capture it?
I know. Believe me, it stays in my mind.
How long ago was it?
That had to be, you figure 2, probably about anywhere from 3 to 4 years ago. When
was it in relationship when I first met you and Chris?
When, I don't know now. Maybe a year.
Before or after?
After.
Okay.
And then we came on the radio, right? We talked about this.
It was after, it was before you sent me the thing about the clicking, right?
The clicking. Yeah, it was before. I think it was before.
Okay.
Which was another whole crazy thing, right?
Mm-hmm. By the way, that's the kind of aliens that make that kind of noise, by the way. But anyway, we can move on from there.
No, I just want to say something, just for whatever it's worth. That clicking business that you're mentioning right now, I still have on my phone on the app that does the recording, which I recorded on. For some reason, I don't have it in me to delete it. And with my OCD and everything, I'm obsessed with notifications. I clear everything out. I'm like on it. For some reason, I will not delete that. I still have that very same recording that the coordinates that I felt that they gave me. I mean, it's so insane. So why do you think I'm keeping it?
Because it's going to come in handy one day. Or useful or something.
That's what I think.
Maybe when the alien's dragging you through the cosmos, it says, where we should go next week. Wait, I got it on my phone.
Wait, you know what? It's a triangle, and I know the coordinates. It's so insane. But not only that, first of all, it was the day before it happened, and then I was ready the next night saying, it's coming back, and this time I'm going to record it in its entirety. And that's exactly what I did. The next night, it was back, and making the clicking noises and whatever, and I recorded at least 2.5 minutes, which 2.5 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but it's long. I must sound like insane, right?
What do you think, Teresa? Is she insane? Teresa knows you're insane. Never mind.
No, not at all. This subject matter involves many complex details. It makes a great deal of sense to me. And probably when I was away, I was just invited to another party.
Ooh,
tomorrow. I'll be in my office tomorrow. But I'm invited. I'll be about 2 hours late, and of course I wouldn't miss news on the flip side. I just stopped by to say hello. But people here are so nice. We had a great New Year's party. That was major fun.
That's always good. Partying's a good thing, man. That's just keeps you healthy and your soul going good. Makes the blood flow too. They but I notice as far as aliens and ghosties and all this shit, it seems to be a slow year. Even though all these TV shows are blasting all over the thing, there doesn't seem to be much going on. It just seems to be kind of, in some ways, I think that the over-mediazation of both of them have kind of made people numb to them, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Almost like ambivalent, like, okay. But most people do believe in it. That I found. Now, that being said, my father, he has, it's not Alzheimer's, but it's a form of it. It's something between dementia and Alzheimer's and all this. And he said something really weird to me, like about 6 months ago. And I was leaving the house, and he said something, and I said, what's wrong with you? I looked at him, I was like, what? And then he said to me, it's not my fault, it's the aliens. Now, where the hell did this guy get this? Now, I got to preface that with saying, conservative man. He was a police sergeant, 20-something years. He keeps to himself, minds his business, very intelligent, never would even come up with a subject like this. And when he said to me, he goes, it's not my fault, it's the aliens. The aliens are doing this or did this. And I just kind of looked at him, thinking to myself, we've never had a conversation like this, And he did it once before at the kitchen table, saying something like, Joe, I'm on this network, and I know my mother completely believes in the paranormal. I would have thought my father, the voice of reason, would have said to me, get the hell out of here with this kind of BS. Like, he's a realist, right? He said to me at the table, he goes, do you think X amount of people in the world could be wrong? And meaning about aliens. And then he started talking about the 60s, and he started talking about, like, hundreds of thousands of people saw this,
Maybe he was one of the officers that saw the one that, the Linda Castile case. Would have been it would have been right about the right time for him. But where was it cop at?
Yes, it would have.
One Police Plaza, headquarters in Manhattan.
He might have seen it then. It might be why there's a lot. Well, let me tell you what. There's a lot of shit happens over New York, guys. It's most New Yorkers don't look up; they walk looking down at their feet or looking straight ahead. Most people don't even, after 9/11, a lot of people looked up. That's why there were so many reports coming in afterwards. But then, of course, that's done faded away now, and everybody's back to watching their feet when they're walking or kind of halfway looking ahead of them. No one really looks up anymore. But if you happen to have been down there when it happened, when the UFO picked up the ambassador and the security guards and all, and when they picked up Linda Castile and the security guards and all seen them, it was just. Not a lot of people came forward after that case, even though we know a lot of people had to have seen it. Just a handful of people came forward. And, of course, the Secret Service people came forward. Well, the one that didn't go crazy completely.
The reason I mention this is because I'm not like living some kind of, and ghosts. I've always been level-headed, and my father, who is completely like down to earth, my whole life never mentioned anything like this, and then all of a sudden, in the past year or two, or a couple of years now, he has said things that just kind of floor me. Like, where did this come from? And it leads me to believe, just because he didn't say it doesn't mean he doesn't know it. That's not his style. But, he's blaming his condition on the aliens. And I find that, like...
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird you said that, because I had an uncle who got a form of Alzheimer's, and used to go to the donut shop and tell the cops at the donut shop what the aliens were doing, and it was because of them that they were taking his memory away.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
You never know. You never know. I do a lot of research.
But when he said to me, he's like, it's not my fault. The aliens did this. And I'm like, really? And he's serious. And you know what? I just let that conversation go. We never had it again. I didn't even ask him, what do you mean, why? Even if I asked him today, he probably wouldn't remember that conversation, So it's kind of crazy.
Well, we got to take a break because it's top of the hour. We're going to be back for a little while longer, guys, so y'all can come hang out with us, and then we're gonna get out of here. But we're gonna come back and hang out with y'all for a minute. When we come back, we're gonna talk about a little bit more about what Seth was talking about. We're also gonna hit up a couple of top 10 news stories for the year, and then we might close out with a little more UFO and extraterrestrial and paranormal stuff. Tree's got a couple of good links she sent me I was looking at while we were at the break. But stay tuned. We'll be back in about 8 minutes. You're listening to United Public Radio, and you're listening to Joe Montaldo, Stephanie Benetti, and Patrice Sherman. We'll see you in about 8.
Alfa Romeo is a particular way of living, of experiencing an automobile. The real essence of Alfa defies description. To move a man's spirit, we deal in the realm of sensation, passions.
Listening to the show and wish to join us in the chat room, visit paltalk.com. Go to the social issues, select other, and enter the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
Tune in to the Mind Cemetery with your hosts Chip and Nicole every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We delve into UFOs, abductions, ghosts, aliens, conspiracies, and cryptozoology.
And how could you ever forget about those creepy topics you won't hear on your local news?
This is where I would insert my obligatory skeptical statement. The Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest.
Follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on Facebook. Also check us out on our website, mindcemetery.com, for show updates and the critically acclaimed Mind Cemetery blog.
It's not critically acclaimed, but you should check it out anyway, mindcemetery.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Benetti, and along with Joe Montaldo, we host News on the Flip Side. Come join us every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central for our 3-hour program. We have opinions on everything, and we're not afraid to share them. False history gets made all day, every day. The truth of the new is never on the news, but you can find it here with News on the Flip Side. Remember, don't be politically correct. Just be correct. Join us.
Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed a little short break there. So you could get your little coffee, your little Cokes, or whatever you were. Hope everybody's enjoyed it. I know this is a little impromptu tonight. Nobody expected this to be broadcasting tonight, but first I just can't handle this no live show stuff. It's just making me crazy.
I knew that.
and I really wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of the in-the-review stuff, and we wanted to talk a little, paranormal and UFO stuff as well, because, I know people forget sometimes, but the station does a wide variety of stuff, and it is nice to kind of recap some of it or go over some of it. But before we get into any of that, let me bring this up right here. This is the top 10 stories of 2014. Now, by saying this, because I'm going to get Stephanie to look while we're talking, this is from CBS. So imagine if you went to others, they might have slightly different top 10. One of the things on this top 10 list is Malaysian Airlines plane shot down over the Ukraine. Y'all remember that when the Russians shot it down, or the Russian people, not the Russians, but their pro-Russian forces shot it down? That was pretty rough news this year. It was, so that makes 3 planes we lost last year. So the one that was shot down over the Ukraine, the one they couldn't find, and the one that just crashed, that they found the parts to. So that's
very sad. Very sad.
Yeah. So that's harsh. Now, notice the other 2 planes didn't make this list, or maybe they did, so maybe we'll see. The next on this list, Obama takes action on immigration. That's good, but I don't know how that's exactly going to all work out, so I'm going to hold judgment on that one myself, because I'm not exactly sure it's going to all work quite the way Obama wanted it was, especially since it looks like Jeb Bush might be your next president of the United States. So, I'm going to hold judgment. What do y'all think? I mean, you think the immigration thing's going to work? No, yeah, maybe? Kind of, sort of?
I think there's so many people against having illegals in this country at this point, and there's so many people out of work are saying, you know what, we're going to give these people all these benefits. What about us? I think the American public is kind of sick of it. So, no.
What you think, Trish?
I believe, too, that many of the American voters perceive some of these executive actions by Obama to really reflect payback for the major Hispanic vote in his reelection. And, not that these people wouldn't be worthy citizens. Many of them are very law-abiding and industrious. They would be. But people would like to have the actual immigration laws followed, and, of course, majorly revised if that's needed, and many are saying it is. But the process should be done lawfully.
I agree, and I think if we're going to let 5 million new people into the country, which could probably end up being more like 8, that the citizens should at least got to vote on it. Some of this stuff, I think for executive actions, there should be a referendum where if you get 100,000 signatures, it can be repealed or it can be voted on by the American public. Because frankly, I think the public should be allowed to vote on a lot more than we actually get to these days. I know we depend on the Congress, the House, and the Senate to do a lot of the voting for us, but really there's a lot of stuff like immigration or, for that matter, the ACA, Affordable Care Act. All of that should have been voted on by the public. Since it's going to have that big of an impact on public, I mean, that's 5 to 7 million jobs, American jobs we're talking about here. So that's enough to put us back down around 2 or 3% unemployment rate if those jobs were to come back into the workforce. So then besides that, illegals, everybody acts like, oh, because now the president said they're going to stay, they're going to all of a sudden become legal. They're not. There's no reason for them to become legal. They haven't been paying taxes. Now what? They're going to start paying taxes now? They're going to start carrying insurances. They're going to stop undercutting contractors all around the country. No, that's not going to stop.
That's true.
Only difference is now they're going to be legal. They ain't going to have to be the threat of being sent home. So it wasn't very well thought through by Obama, but that's just par for Obama. It really is. Now, this was my one for the year, this next one. Republicans take control of the Congress. Yay, Republicans. Don't know what's going to come out of it. God only knows what's going to happen. They got 2 years to show that they can do something now. And hopefully...
Very positive development. Very positive development. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to hope it is. I'm holding my breath on that one. It's got to be better than what's going on for the last 6 years. I got to say it has to be better than that. I seen they had to take old Harry Reid to the hospital for... he was exercising and broke a bone and messed up his face or something. What the hell was this guy doing? Dropped a weight on his head or something? And we're letting him run the country, and he can't even lift weights. Come on, people.
Oh, stop.
I'm just saying, how do you get in an accident working out at your house? Anyway, we're going to leave that one.
All right, let me ask you what you think about this.
You can let me finish the top 10 list? No.
No.
Rudely interrupted me.
Can I? Well, because you're not doing it fluently.
Here, I'll send it to you. You can finish it. Here.
All right.
Here, I'll send it to you because we're on the rise of ISIS next. So
let me just ask you about this. No, I'm looking at a link here.
Yeah.
Law enforcement desperately trying to hide use of surveillance cell towers. Now, what do you think about that?
Because this is the illegal way to listen to your conversations.
Exactly. I mean, it's relevant for us because we do radio, but I mean, so they're trying to hide these towers.
The fact that they can data mine your phones.
You know, in New Jersey, they actually dress them up like within trees, and you really can't even tell that.
Well, they do that down here because certain neighborhoods require that. Now, our interstate cell phone towers aren't required to have prettiness, but if they're in neighborhoods and stuff, they make them look like pine trees or whatever local trees are in the neighborhood. That's how they do it. It's so that it doesn't offend the people that live in the neighborhood. At least that's what I've been told. Yeah. The first time I seen one, I'm like, wow, that's kind of interesting. When it bothers me the most, what bothers me the most is not so much when I see them in neighborhoods done like that. It's when I see them out in the middle of the woods dressed up like a tree. I'm thinking, really? Well, ain't nobody out here. Why the hell would we do this? You know what? We want the animals to come piss on this. I mean, shit on the cell phones. Excuse the language. I'm just curious. I mean, didn't make no sense to me. But I mean, the ones in the city make total sense. But they're definitely data mining people's phones and they're listening to conversations. But I don't know if it's local law enforcement. Probably NSA, FBI, CIA, SS, something like that. One of the other agencies out there. There's 7 or 8 of these so-called security agencies that monitor everything that goes on in the United States. But more than likely, and I can't be 100% sure about this, but more than likely, on these cell phone towers, there are probably keywords set. Each one is probably given a list of keywords, and if those keywords come up, then those calls or those phones are probably then flagged to the organization to check out and to go through the rest of the data and see what they find. Just keywords like kill, and blow up, and and then use like a city or a leader's name afterwards. They're liable to flag it and check it out.
Okay, back to your top 10. Sorry about that, but I just wanted to mention.
Well, it's just kind of weird, but go ahead.
No. What's next on your list?
ISIS.
Go ahead.
No, I thought you were doing it.
I don't have it.
It's in the room.
Oh.
Poor, I know because it's her night off, y'all. So don't hate on it.
No, it's my night off. You know what? No, it's your curriculum.
It's her night off, y'all. Don't hate on it. But the rise of ISIS is next on the list. The brutal Islamic State, Iraq, Syria group.
It says, wait a second. the rise of ISIS. I see this. The world became aware of the brutality of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria group as terrorists beheaded American journalists and British. Yeah, you know what? That should have been something that we should have talked about when you asked me about this year, right? Because that whole scene is a tragedy.
We did mention it. We did mention it earlier.
Yeah, we did. We touched on it. But let me ask y'all to this: do y'all think ISIS is the cause of the gas prices going down?
Now, why would you say that?
I'm just asking because I think being them over there like that, blowing up shit all over, the gas price should have went up, not down. So I know what it really is about. They're driving gas prices down to bankrupt Russia and Venezuela. I think they're pretty well on their way now too. And now
it's like $2 here, Joe, a gallon.
Oh, yesterday at the store around the corner it was $1.92. I'm sure before I leave to go back to Metairie, it'll be probably around $1.85, $1.86, somewhere around there. It's very interesting because I heard OPEC the other day saying that America needs to think about its fracking program and its other programs. Last I heard, America can make money on oil until it hits about $1.49, and then on fracking it starts to lose money. On pumping oil, it starts to lose money after 99 cents, around 85 cents. They'll start losing money on pumping oil. But what it really hurts the oil companies on is not so much their profit, is their money they bank on for research, where they can go out and spend those big billions of dollars looking for shit all over the planet. That's really where it hurts the company, not so much in their initial profits. So they can still survive, but if OPEC has its way, they want to drop oil prices to 99 cents a gallon. So that means anybody fracking, well, we're just pumping. Basically, even the wells at that price are just basically breaking even or losing money, and the fracking's definitely losing money. So at that point, the United States will stop pumping oil because simply it will be cheaper to buy from the Middle East. And it may even stay down for a while. But the goal here is basically to teach Russia a lesson that if you don't play the game, nobody's going to buy your oil and you're going to go bankrupt. And, Russia wants to talk big, but Russia really was just coming out of its last bankruptcy from when Russia spanked from when Reagan spanked their little happy butts. Now they're letting Obama spank their butts with sanctions. At least last time they were in a spending war with us. This time they can't even get into a spending war. So, and I notice now I haven't been hearing much from Putin lately. He's been hiding out because he's starting now to look bad in front of his in front of his own countrymen. Even though they're still hating on America, I heard they were putting flags in the doors at the malls to wipe their feet on American flags. I imagine Putin's telling his people every day on the news that it's America's fault. America's doing this to us. They're punishing us. Actually, they are. You give back to Ukraine, and we'll stop. It's a real simple it's a real simple thing. Stop making trouble. Stop endorsing bad people like the leader of Venezuela, or sponsoring the Cuban government, or invading your neighbor Ukraine, or backing aside. You Putin, you're a bad boy. Knock it off. This isn't the Soviet war era days. This is today, the world economy. If you're going to play, you're going to have to play within the ground rules. You don't like the ground rules, you were trying to change them, but guess what? The world told you to bite them. You know what happened to Putin? He believed his own press. That's what happened to Putin.
All right, the next item on the top 10 list here is the Sony cyber attack.
I don't think that should be on the list, but
it is.
It is. But.
All right, so and this next one, Michael Brown, Eric Garner protests, and we talked about this in the beginning of the program, as this stuck out to me this year, maybe because it's recent, maybe because some of this is very local. We talk about the Eric Garner thing. Joe, 2 miles away from my house. So, it stays in my mind as, how crappy we are these days. I mean,
it lives in the hood, man.
No, I don't live in the hood, but it's not far,
Everybody lives in the hood. It's the neighbor.
A couple miles.
No, the black thing to me is just, these are cases, okay, initially like the one in Ferguson. I can see why they jump, but, anytime you've got people willing to lie like they did in the Ferguson case, do you know how many witnesses gave completely opposing stories? I mean, I think the district attorney said there was 41 different stories given. there was only 8 people that were consistent, and they were all the ones that said what happened with the officer. Everybody else was giving conflicting stories. And you heard what his friend said. He was running down the street with his hands up in the air, and a cop was just shooting him in the back. See, he should have been put in jail for that.
Not even that. There was other
strong evidence, forensic evidence.
There was other
so
footage,
powerful.
though.
Yeah, but that's not the
him
point. The point
Remember
is,
that too. Mm-hmm.
we now have proven that there was no bullets that entered through the back. They all entered through the front. We know that as a fact now. So we now know this guy perjured himself. All right, he gave sworn testimony. First, he gave false information to a reporting officer. Then he got on stand and gave false testimony. He should be in jail. It's perjury. The government needs to stop letting people, they're, oh, well, it's black, so we don't want to make it an issue. Bullshit. You don't want people to keep perjuring themselves. Let them know if you get caught lying, you're going to go to jail. Less people will lie then. If you just keep letting people go, there's no consequences, then it's not going to happen. It's I said this when when all the looters did all that shit in New Orleans and the government never did anything about it. I said, you watch. Now they've learned the lesson. Now every chance they get, they're going to loot. And sure enough, since then, every chance they've got, they've looted. And it may not even be, you can go all the way back as far as Larry King? What was his name? The one in L.A. that got beat up and sued the police department. So you can go back as far as that. They were looting and going through the streets and stuff because of that guy.
I want to know what looting and rioting in that violent kind of way really solves. What is it? Like,
getting out there and protesting makes a difference. When you start looting your neighborhood, you just look like an idiot, especially when you're looting your own neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then a lot of people told me that, not told me, but a lot of the things I heard was that a lot of the looters weren't actually from there. They were being bussed in from other areas because that's why they were looting, because they weren't from there. That may or may not be true, but I would venture to say some of them looters were local. And then you got to go burning down people's stores and shit in your own neighborhood. Why?
Exactly.
That's because you go out and burn it down in some other.
All right, let's move on to, let's finish this list. Okay, the next one on the list, Bill Cosby sex assault allegations. Now, we've talked about this on News on the Flip Side, and
yes.
I think that we're pretty much in agreement with the fact that where there's smoke, there's fire. However, when you're a celebrity and you have money and people can put something out there, I have this little saying, like, you could do 1,000 great things. You could do 100 good things. You do one bad thing, and that's what everyone remembers you for. Now, that being said, say this guy did do something, it came out in the public, right? And now, how many allegations have been made?
15, I think, so far.
Right.
But that my point to all this is, and it's why I've left this story alone, no one's willing to take a polygraph. So at this point, I have to assume everyone's lying. If no one's willing to take a polygraph, then I really have to at this point, have to stop and say, hey, look, you're making a serious accusation against a very popular man based on what? Based on you said it. Okay, that's fine. You said it. Now, I found it very interesting that no one that worked with Cosby on any of his shows or any of his things came out and did anything.
Exactly.
These were just people, and I found it interesting that most of the people that were doing this were people that were looking for jobs. So, that's why they call it the casting couch. It didn't get that name because, people didn't sleep their way to the top or attempt to sleep their way to the top. So in this case, and I've seen a couple of them women, I would definitely think they would have definitely said, hey, well, I'm looking for this job. Let's do this, that. And women get really pissed when they give up some booty. And then the guy says, well, you know what, too damn bad.
That's very male chauvinistic of you. But
no, it is not true. If you were putting it on a guy, now let's be honest. If you were putting it on a guy, you have
talent. You don't have to give up booty for anything. All right, Joe?
But maybe not today you didn't, but back then you did. Especially if you're a woman. It wasn't that easy for a woman in the 70s and 80s to break into stuff. It was still a man's world. So, yeah, I don't doubt there was a lot of booty call going on back in the day. I've heard enough.
Patrice, what do you think about this booty call stuff?
Hey, don't be booty calling it.
Well, thanks heavens, women realize now, women of our generation, and I think even women back then realized that would be just a reckless pursuit of a career position. And
well, I hate to say it, women today still do it too, so it's not changing. It's not.
Unfortunately, I can, you might be right in some instances.
Well, the thing of it is it's not an always thing, and not all women do it. But for I had a woman that said, "Well, that couldn't happen." Really? I'm like, really? You're telling me that no women try to sleep their way to the top? But, for me, I have to laugh because personally, I know women and have done it. So I'm kind of like, no, you're not going to pull that one on me. But it's because it's such a stereotypical BS type that it does kind of make when you say it the wrong way, it does kind of paint one of those pictures that all women would do it. But no, most women wouldn't do it because most women have morals, so they're not going to do it. But there are a lot of women out there that are very ambitious that would do it. And these days, I hate to say this, there's a lot of men out there that are ambitious that would do it.
We know both sexes have to realize that people truly are created equal. They don't need to resort to that.
What is this equal stuff? No.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Well, to me, that type of thing, it's dehumanizing. I hate that. I hate anything that's dehumanizing.
See, for me, I look at the world a little different. I think because, women think differently than men do in a whole variety of ways. And we both have different talent sets. It's not that they don't cross over or they can't cross over because they do. It's just some things men are better suited for than women are, and some things women are better suited for than men are. And the fact that we deny that hurts our society. It really does, because women would actually make much better fighter pilots than men would. They're much more detail-orientated, and their hand-eye coordination on average is about 2 to 5 milliseconds faster. Well, in a firefight, that's a damn big deal. And if we start going to planes where like the new planes like the Raptor and the F-35 have their fly-by-wire, there's not even a stick in them. They just hook these little helmets to your head and you fly the plane. If your reaction time is 0.5 milliseconds faster than your opponent, you're going to beat their asses every time. And it's different. So, and there's other places that we just, we're missing out on. But hey, we don't want to be a chauvinistic society, so we try to lump everything in there. But when people tell me there's no differences between the races or the sexes, I have to go, really? Really? I think we're all equal, but let's not deny that there's differences. That's just being stupid. That's like putting your head in the sand and denying that there's differences between people. Come on. There comes a point where we need to grow up and stop being politically correct and be correct. There are differences between men and women, and there are differences between the sexes. Between the races. There just is. We learned that, and to make this an even better argument for people, we learned that when the AIDS vaccine came out. When the AIDS vaccine, it was 7% effective in white people. It was 4% effective in Oriental people, and it is 1% effective in black people. Why is it? If we were all equal and everything's exactly the same, well, then it should have been 7% across the board, shouldn't it have been? But it's not. Just like black people are more susceptible to sickle cell than white people, or Orientals for that matter. Why is that? Well, we're all created equal. No, because we're not. We're not created equal. Some people have much bigger advantages than other people do. I get tired of hearing that crap. I don't want us to turn into one of those societies where DNA matters and your gene pool matters, but going around saying this, that, and the other thing is a bullshit. We need to be a society that understands our limitations and our expectations and do something about it. Some people are just simply better suited for other stuff. And it doesn't even have to be based on race or color. Maybe we should start doing more of that throughout school, testing students to see what they really excel at. And then once we learn that, start pointing that student towards that. So as they move into high school and college,
they can reach their goals. Yeah,
they can reach and fulfill their goals. But right now, we're wasting our time. We're just arguing about this, that, one, and the other thing, which is a load of crap. We're all equal. We just need to accept the fact that everybody on this planet is equal as far as rights and things go. As far as our abilities, no. That would be like me saying I can run as fast and fight as hard as a 20-year-old can. Bullshit. I'm 50. Okay, I'd have to pull out the gun and shoot his ass. It's just we live in a society that has to learn tolerance, and it needs to be educated, and much better than it is. And it's just a shame that we still live in the dark ages in 2015.
And respect and cultivate the talents of each person, of each individual.
It just and I've always been for sex and color should never come into an argument, but trying to turn a blind eye to say that one may not be better at something else or something else is stupid. In a lot of ways, and not always, but in a lot of ways, women are much more empathic as far as the way they share and hold their emotions. Men have stronger bonds. I didn't know that, by the way. I just found that out from a big old Harvard study. So there's differences, and we should embrace those differences and learn how, wouldn't you like to marry someone that you're strong in all these suits and they're strong in all these suits, and when you combine, you're like unstoppable? But today we hide our strengths and our weaknesses. I don't know. I guess I want to live in a more open society is what I'm trying to say. I don't think sex or color should even make a difference on a decision by any person on the planet, but unfortunately in today's society, especially in other countries, it seems to make a big, big, big decision. Anytime you want.
What's that?
I'm trying to think. I can't find it. That link of the Saudi pilot. I guess her parents didn't really approve that she was flying a jet. Have you read that particular story? I'm trying to find the reference to it.
Well, I don't think I've seen that one. Now, here's top 10 news stories.
Where's the bold place on it? Mm-hmm.
Who the hell news is this? Oh, this is USA Today. Their number one story, of course, is the New York and Ferguson shootings. That's their number one. I love how they placed it. Young unarmed black boy shot by officer. If that's just not provocative, that's not what happened. Ebola, of course, was number two. I don't think Ebola was as big a news as I thought it was. Stephanie and I tried to tell everybody in the beginning it was a load of crap. It was nothing coming to our country, but apparently they didn't want to listen to us.
And why should they?
Police killings, Ebola outbreak, because we right when we're wrong, that's for sure. If you look at our political credentials for the last 2 years, we're right on the money on pretty much all of that stuff.
I know. Anyone listening, join us tomorrow night. What is it, 6 p.m. Central, News on the Flip Side. Joe and I will be on for 3 hours, and the fourth hour.
Not only did we predict the results of the election, but we predicted it was going to be a landslide a full year ahead of anybody else. Everybody was scared to say anything until the last 90 days. Steph and I had already been talking about a full year ahead of time, but that's also because we have on-running polls that really shows us the heartbeat of America. And I got to say, so far, them damn polls have been right on the money.
I know.
I've been quite impressed with them little boogers. Oh, that's my son.
Very, very interesting.
Actually,
Steph, why don't you take over a second?
Yeah, let me just interject here. I never like to say anything inaccurate, and I thought I'd read that about the pilot, but you know what? Actually, I must have been thinking of, or I might have been thinking rather of, the fact that there was recent talk about a United Arab Emirates first female pilot, UAE's first female pilot leading the blitz on ISIS, among the squadrons of fighters sent to blast ISIS in Iraq and Syria. And I'm getting this info from the dailymail.co.uk, and it is posted January 3rd.
Patrice, you had some other interesting articles, one of which was the UFO or the CIA agencies take credit for the 50s and 60s sightings. And why did you point out that?
Well, I was looking at some of the comments in the different sites, and one party had noted, one reader responded that with the really high altitudes that these craft would be flying, it really would be unusual for them to note it as a UFO, in that many people couldn't see it. And I was going to get Joe's reaction to that as well. And also, I want Joe's reaction to 8 most important aviation stories. And do you have that list? Now, I know Ebola was considered by some to be a top one. Mm-hmm.
Wait, let me just mention this same article. It goes, maybe it was a bird, maybe it was a plane, but it says not a UFO. It says the Central Intelligence Agency had some fun Monday tweeting about the most popular stories of the year, and it says, number one, reports of unusual activities in the skies in the 50s. It was us. And here's a tweet, I guess you'd say, from the CIA. It said the number one most read on our best of 2014 list, reports of unusual activity in skies. It was us, so on and so forth. And then it goes. That's right. The CIA report from 1998 was the most read story in 2014. It's titled innocuously "Enough: The CIA and the U-2 Program, 1954 to 1974." Now, they're basically saying it's been them. I don't know if I buy that though.
And that's so interesting. Now that was the article from the USA Today. The Examiner also had an excellent article. What I find very interesting is there's a point here that's not being discussed in the article, and that is the very small percentage of cases that really seem to have all of the markers that would indicate a possible UFO sighting. Or let's say the lesser, they aren't in the majority. If they're at a lesser amount than that, and also again with the U-2 flying at those altitudes, I don't know. And it also mentioned too, I think in that other articles they mentioned airplane pilots calling in on this. I think an airplane pilot would have a much better call upon expertise to know if a craft was really anomalous. So, I don't know, several questions brought up. Of course, we think the CIA is doing they do a fine job for the country, a fine job for freedom. But I think that there are two issues here. Number one, would those crafts doing fine work be at such a high altitude that they really wouldn't be included in many of those reports? And number two, the percentage of the actual reports that have all the markings, all the indicators of a true UFO are definitely in a minority of the reported sightings, or definitely not the majority. So
this says the U-2, it says, is the CIA spy plane, and it made several high-altitude reconnaissance missions and test flights in the 50s and 60s. It says the document tracks the plane's creations and iterations, and it says how it's often mistaken for a UFO because of it flew higher than anyone believed was possible.
What y'all talking about? XR-71 Blackbird?
We were talking about
the U-2. About the U-2.
Yeah, the article is the UFO or the CIA agency takes credit for the 50s and 60s sightings. They're saying it's basically
I have to agree with Treese. For the most part, most of them would have been too high for them to notice if it flew around 76,000 feet or something, 80,000, somewhere around there. So most people by the naked eye would have looked like a satellite.
It was above 60,000.
Yeah, so that's okay. So
would above 50,000 still be at sufficient altitude?
Yeah, above 60,000. Most airlines fly around 32,000 feet. So you see what a plane looks like at 32,000. That's a big plane now. We're talking about like an airliner. You can barely make it out. It looks like about, a half-inch long. So just imagine a plane as small as a U-2 flying at 60,000. That's at 60,000. That's double the height. It's going to look like a dot. If there's sunlight on it, you'll probably be able to see it because it'll shine silver, or it'll shine, it'll be shiny looking. And it'll be just like a little dot, look like a satellite moving across the sky in today's society.
Yeah, it goes on to say about the U-2. They start flying at altitude above 60,000. So 60,000 is just probably the minimum.
Yeah, well, most biplanes, SR-71 flew at 82,000 feet, so the U-2 was probably close to that.
I saw the Blackbird once. That's magnificent. But, Steph, that's a good point. Very, very good point. So that was a great USA article. Yeah. I have to agree with you. I'm so glad you shared that with us. The Examiner article has one paragraph that I think is intriguing, and that is about the possibility of misidentification. Just quoting this directly, and the Examiner's article entitled CIA UFO Sightings, Initial Beliefs Debunked. CIA Takes Credit for UFO Sightings. The author is Heather Tooley. And quoting directly, this is what I think is interesting. A portion of the report is titled U-2s, UFOs, and Operation Blue Book. The excerpt of the report was documented mostly by pilots who flew commercial airliners early in the evening, and they were flying from east to west. After the sun would set, the U-2s had a tendency to resemble a fiery object, end quote from that article. But now, commercial airliners have so much expertise. What do you think, Joe and Steph? I don't know. That might give the opening for the possibility of it being misconstrued. I guess one of perhaps several openings.
I don't know. Airline pilots are pretty good pilots. For the most part, you don't get to fly a jumbo jet around or any kind of airline pilot. Usually you got to sit as a co-pilot for 10 or more years, and they prefer to hire military pilots. I mean, they'll hire private pilots, but they really prefer to hire military pilots because
we've had some odd things this year with planes, right?
Yeah, there's been some.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of news. And Joe, one quick question. I just want to interject this, Stephanie. Some military in their books have mentioned a red circular object hovering. I don't know. I'm wondering if this possibly is a factor, but that was supposed to be a circular hovering object, something that remained. Its circular shape was consistent. Spherical shape, I should say.
I got a lot of weird reports this year. I've seen a lot of weird reports of different things. Circular objects, round objects, glowing, hovering, weird crap here and there. Still, even with all the phones around, it's weird because my son and grandson and his friend, they came up on New Year's Eve to see us. It was early in the morning, it was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And they said they had seen 5 orbs and then a blue orb behind it. My grandson got a picture. Of course, it's orbs, but... what do you do with glowing orbs in the sky? Obviously, they were moving fast, but what do you do with it? It's a great picture, and obviously it's not airplanes of any kind. What it is, I couldn't tell you. That's why it's classified as a UFO, but still, what do you do with it? What does it mean? Or does it
Joe
mean
and
anything?
Steph? Yeah. Please pardon my interruption, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Joe and Steph, could I quickly again note that link that I just had found? I thought it was really intriguing. 8 most important spaceflight stories of 2014.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And let me
I'm looking at it.
Oh, cool. Do you have that up, Joe? I'll copy it again in the room.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
And let me just do this again. And let me see here. Callie is saying, could some orbs be light beings? That's an interesting question. Callie, I wish I remembered the precise titles of the books. There were some from the UFO authors mentioning being spherical objects. Now, red, bright red. Now, let's see. Oh, son of a gun. I'm going to go right back into this link. Here it is. Oh, Steph, help me with this. Right now you're on the page 2.
I am.
Let me see. Oh,
okay,
and Joe,
so
you like this.
It's 8 most important spaceflight stories of 2014, and it says...
by Miriam Kramer, published December 24th.
That's right. So you have it.
Yep.
Go ahead.
The first one, NASA's Orion capsule debut. Quoting precisely, NASA successfully launched an uncrewed test of its Orion spacecraft, built to take humans to deep space destinations like Mars or an asteroid for the first time. The space capsule, designed to carry 4 astronauts, is the first spacecraft built by NASA to take humans to the Red Planet eventually. Okay, positive news.
Yes.
Joe, where are you?
Oh.
I think so too.
He's got to check his battery.
No, my mic's been acting really weird tonight for some reason.
Oh, of course it has.
No, I don't know what the hell it was. It was working great, and then all of a sudden, a few minutes ago, it started flashing off and on and giving me weird things. I thought I had it on mute, and it wasn't.
Well, I know we're running out of time here, but...
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up to 12. Go ahead.
Let me just add, because I think this is a positive note, quoting NASA's Space Launch System, the agency's mega rocket built to take Orion into deep space, also hit a big milestone in 2014, completing a critical design review that will allow engineers building the rocket to go forward, end quote. And, of course, there's several other elements of space news there. It's an interesting Fox News story, 8 most important spaceflight stories of 2014 by Miriam Kramer.
Well, it was a good year for space travel. The Orion came out. They're saying we're going back to Mars. I'm still kind of wondering about all of that, but at the moment, we can hope. We can actually hope that one day we'll have a real space program again. I got to say outright, I just don't think that the Mars, that the Orion is going to be the ship we use to go to Mars. it just doesn't look like what we need to go to Mars with. It's a capsule. It doesn't look like it's going to hold enough people or enough equipment, for that matter. So I've been a little skeptical about it, but I mean, there's been some other good things. We've got a couple of good satellites up out there now, a couple of good telescope satellites that we can start to look more and more for planets like our own. Both NASA and the European Space Agency said they think they're going to be able to confirm extraterrestrial life sometime in the next 1 to 10 years. So that's a big change from there is no life out there to, oh, we're going to definitely prove there's something out there. So I got to give them credit for that. You know, that's at least they're starting to step up and change. But if they would have listened and done this, 2 decades ago, like everybody else was telling them, then they would we'd be on to the next part. It just seems like scientists are. What I think scientists' biggest problem is the simple lack of imagination. That's why so many scientists told you, well, I invented this because I've seen it on a sci-fi series somewhere. And it's exactly why, because they do have that lack. It's not that they have a total lack of imagination. They just don't, maybe it's lack of vision might be a better way of saying it. They want to invent things, but, do you invent something where they're not coming up with the ideas for the inventions themselves. They're seeing it somewhere, and then they're copying it, and they're making it happen, even though it's not real at the time. They make it real, like the guy who built a tricorder bed, which I think is cool as hell. Do you know most hospital beds now, they can weigh you and take your temperature and everything while you're in the bed? And more of them are being built like that. And that's all the guy said. It was all inspired by watching Star Trek's tricorder bed. So you see a lot of that from scientists. Anyway, enough about all of that.
Okay, one more thing I think is really interesting, quoting, NASA has tapped the private space flight companies Boeing and SpaceX to start flying American astronauts to the International Space Station 2017. You had, end quote, you had been discussing that several times on News on the Flip Side. Yeah,
well, I'm glad to see that we're not going to be relying on the Russians anymore, because I think the Russians want to get out of their deal with us really soon. I think they're ready to stop taking us to the space station. I think they're ready to get a new deal. Maybe they're going to go work on a Chinese space station. The Chinese got a space station now. I'm not sure what it is, but I know they were talking about pulling out of the deal. So we need a way to get there. I can't believe we actually quit something without having a way there. That just never made any sense to me at all. Okay, well, yeah, we're not going to use the shuttle anymore, but we're not going to build anything new for a while. We're just going to let the Russians take us into space. Really? Whose moronically bright idea was that? Be beholden to the Russians. That just made no sense to me from the get-go. Not even a little bit.
All right. The other story was the India starts orbiting Mars. Right? That was another one of the top 8. Mm-hmm. It says the Indian Space Agency Mars Orbiter Mission probe arrived at Mars this year, making India only the 4th agency to put a spacecraft in orbit around the red planet. Now, Joe, Mars is a big subject for you.
Well, Mars is a great topic. It's a lot of fun. It's really the next place man's going to go. If we want to go anywhere, this is going to be the place we go. I mean, this is where it's going to be. Without Mars, man's kind of stuck. The moon's great, but the moon has limited resources, limited everything. Mars is another planet that can be terraformed. And it's a good stepping stone for us because we can learn how to terraform Mars. Eventually, we can terraform Venus. And then we have 3 nice, healthy planets right here in the solar system so we can expand and grow. And one day, in 1 million years or 5 million years from now, when all 3 of these worlds are inhabited and their moons are inhabited and we've got stations and other moons that we're working and inhabiting on, eventually we'll have a population, upwards of 100 billion, 150 billion. Then we'll probably start deep colonization. But at that rate, unless the solar system's destroyed, it kind of guarantees that man will survive even if we blow ourselves up here. But more importantly, once you've reached that level of cooperation, it's highly unlikely that you're going to blow yourself up. But just an observation. Who knows for sure? But I know we got about 6 minutes, which I want to round it up with.
Well, I'll say this. This was one of the top 8 most important space flight stories in 2014. And this one, and I personally, I find it fascinating, but it said the moon saw a lot of activity. It said the moon has been a very busy place for space probes in 2014. China successfully launched its first lander and rover to the moon 2013, but it goes on and on. But, you know, Joe, you know this too. I take a lot of photographs, and I'm fascinated by the moon. And I have a telescope, and I find it really, really interesting. And there's something that draws me to the moon, which I have no idea. And it's been going on my whole life. Like, whether you talk about paranormal, not paranormal, whatever, it's just something really interesting. I mean, every single full moon, don't I always post a picture or say something? Or yeah, there's something really fascinating to me. It's like I go down to the beach, the energy. I sit in a lifeguard chair, and I just watch the moon on the ocean, and there's something like energizing, or I just soak it in, like I'm absorbed by it, or it absorbs me. I'm not really sure, but Joe, I happen to know you like the moon as well.
Yeah, no, I do take quite a few shots. So I post a lot. I post a lot of pictures of a lot of stuff that I'm doing. You know, too, before we run, you know, in that other top 10, they were missing some. I mean, I know we had talked about Ebola and the police killings and all of that stuff and the U.S. elections, but, you know, Obamacare was a big deal this year. We didn't really talk. We didn't really talk about that. You know, it was kind of like we talked a little bit about the turmoil in the UK, but not much. Of course, gay marriage was another big deal.
Yes.
And along with that was the VA scandal, was another big deal this year. Not including that what's-her-name stepped down from the IRS.
Well, yeah, it's the IRS stuff, right, exactly.
You know, so, you know, there was a lot of good stuff here. Granted, we couldn't get to it all, but there was a lot, and I know we're down to about 4 minutes. But, you know, for all of this, guys, there was a lot of news. You know, we want y'all to tune in for news on the flip side to catch the news on the network more often. Of course, we're on Thursdays and Saturdays. We do an update on Thursdays for, you know, doing the week stuff, and a kind of a prelude to what we're going to be doing on Saturday night as well. It's only an hour long. Be sure to catch it out there. It's News on Flipside Light. And, of course, on Saturdays you get the full ordeal. And we will be broadcasting tomorrow. So stopping by. Tonight was just we wanted to come in and talk a little bit about a couple of different topics that happened this year and a little bit about the UFO and the paranormal, because we still work with a little bit of that as well. So, and really that's what we were doing tonight. I see we did 2 hours like nothing.
I know.
And really, guys, we could easily stay here much longer. There's a lot of stuff to talk about.
And I got to be honest with you, I didn't even know this was going to happen until, 5 minutes before?
So Treese didn't either, y'all.
I can attest to that, yes.
Yeah. I kind of gave Stephanie a sort of a warning earlier today, and then when I seen Treese, I just asked her, and Stephanie asked her. So I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. We will post it to the archive. It will be available in the archive. I'm going to get y'all to think of a title for this. It was a little weird. But after I get a title for it, I will post it up to the archives, and y'all can check it out and enjoy it. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, in the future, 504-273-7379. We weren't taking any calls tonight, but we usually do. So you can call in, and you know, lots of websites: uprntalkradio.com, news on the flipside.com. Paranormal Radio Network, uprn.net, uprn.com. I mean, we're easy to find. Of course, you can visit any number of our Facebook pages, because we all have Facebook pages, and we have lots of fan pages, so you can go check out all those too. Anything you want to hear or get involved with, you can always write to any of the hosts, myself or anybody else affiliated with the station. So feel free to get in. We will be going back to regular broadcasting starting next week, so we will have the full lineup as usual. And I really do again. All right,
so wait.
Everybody had a great holiday.
Wait.
No.
You're listening to United Public Radio. It's also UPRN 107.7 FM. No, Joe, you have to stick with the curriculum. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the program tonight, guys.
Wait, hold on.
He's going to do something wrong. I know this.
Oh, I can't find it. You're lucky I can't find it. It's too far away to reach.
Yeah, good.
I was going to take us out with some extra vibrating noise, but I guess not.
No. The way we started.
Hey, you got to come out, go in, yeah.
That's very funny. Anyway, join us tomorrow night. On the flip side, 6 p.m. Central, 4-hour program, and I hope you enjoyed our
Everybody
program
go get a
tonight.
massage and relax.
Yes, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Steph said she's buying.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, everybody. Don't forget after Saturday night. Don't forget to join Treese and Vernell on the Newsmaker Global Focus. Oh, I said that backwards. Damn.
Silly.
Yeah,
see, who just lost it? You did, not me.
Lord.
I only lost it in the beginning of the program.
I just can't believe I just said Teresa's show completely. I took the old title and then turned it backwards with the new title. And
Reese, why don't you speak?
We've all had a busy night. We've all had a busy night. Had a busy week too. So.
It's that knowledge word twists me up every time. I don't know what it is.
I know it twisted you.
It does. But anyway, Patrice, thanks for hanging out with us. Now, y'all should come out Saturday and check us out. I don't know if Greg's broadcasting tomorrow night, but everybody else will be around, so come check us out and see what's going on. And I'll shut up now and let Stephanie officially take us out.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our program. Join us tomorrow night, News on the Flip Side, 6 p.m. Central, for our 4-hour program. And that being said, hope you enjoyed it. Good night, guys.
Good night. Oh, and I hope you all enjoying all the music this weekend.
UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
The paranormal,
ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft,
the unseen.
He's psychic medium Chris George.
And he's Victor the Voice Furman.
We are Second Sight Radio. Join us live
every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
Tune in to The Mind Cemetery with your hosts Chip and Nicole every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We delve into UFOs, abductions, ghosts, aliens, conspiracies, and cryptozoology.
And how could you ever forget about those creepy topics you won't hear on your local news?
This is where I would insert my obligatory skeptical statement. The Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest.
Follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on Facebook. Also, check us out on our website, mindcemetery.com, for show updates and the critically acclaimed Mind Cemetery blog.
Joe Montaldo.